Hey guys, how's it going? Wanted to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, interpersonal stuff relating to it. Anybody that follows me on the server probably saw that I posted some kind of negative stuff regarding it, but whatever. That's how it is sometimes. Uh, Specifically, I want to talk about how my own sort of emotional or my brain essentially was kind of interpreting the events throughout the day and kind of relate that back to you. I know some of you probably don't experience Thanksgiving in any kind of traditional way. Maybe you just get a plate, slid to you under your door, or maybe you just don't participate in any kind of capacity. But I know some of you out there probably do have to go, especially if you're younger, have to go to family events and you know festivities and so on and so forth. So maybe it'll be more relatable. Um, but I'll begin anyway. So they started regular, normal stuff, right? But you could always feel something in the air when it comes to a day that has some kind of a level of obligation and responsibility and tradition involved because people's behaviors kind of shift a little bit. They have these preoccupations with things that maybe weren't quite as important the day before or not long ago. Normative sort of stuff, but it's like expanded more. It's more sensitive during these, uh, days of festivity or the hours before that. So what I'm describing is basically the kind of concern, stress, worry that a lot of people in my life around me were having that I couldn't quite grasp. It would be concerns about cleanliness. Like, for example, the house is generally pretty tidy and things are somewhat in order most of the time. But for some reason, because of the event of people coming and having food at your house in relation to a tradition of some kind, uh, it's, it becomes that much more potent because of the social obligations or aspects of such a thing. At least that's my guess. I don't quite fully comprehend. I can grasp it, like I can understand, but I don't really comprehend the emotional aspect of why everyone seems to be on higher alert. Like maybe a few days before, we had people here, and it was just normal. Like, oh, pick up around this, just make sure the stuff's clear, and okay, right. But a few days later, because this is a event of import to some, now it became, oh, just simple tidiness is not enough. We need to have make sure this is dusted and that's clean and this is put away and this isn't visible and so on and so forth. And normal stuff, I guess, according to people that partake in this sort of thing and really really dig into the social aspects of it. And like when we were preparing, I was outside and we were like putting out tables and stuff in the backyard so that people can come sit and have their turkey outside and so on. And I was like, oh, there was a little bit like the tables are fine, but they were maybe a little bit dusty. And me being just annoying, I was like, well, why are we wiping these tables down with like cleaning spray and such if we're gonna put a plastic cover over it? And then the response was, well, yeah, but you can't have people eating on dirty tables. And I'm like, oh, I know. I mean, they're a little dusty. They're not that bad, but if there's gonna be a plastic cover over it, they're not gonna be eating on the dust. And and then the response was, well, that doesn't matter. The table's still dirty. And I'm like, but and then I stopped and I'm like, okay. And they were like, and furthermore, once the end of the festivities ends, and if somebody happens to want to help and they take the cover off, they're going to see that underneath there was dust. And my thoughts were, so well then they're going to know they ate on a dirty table. Yeah, but they didn't eat on the dirty table, and so this stuff it just goes back and forth, uh, and it gets to a point where I'm like, if you're worried about germs, there's like more on your face as we speak than there is on this somewhat dusty table. and especially less so if we're putting a plastic sheet over it, which will probably get dust on it fairly quickly because of the static and the sort of material, the kind of clinginess that it has. So I don't think it's really going to help. But see, those arguments as ideas are just they don't really they don't get through because it's tied to a concern that is kind of somewhat incomprehensible to me. And so a lot of the times uh, when I come across these sorts of situations, I just kind of ignore it and let it go, or I keep it to myself, because it's just it's too much trouble to bring it up. But if I'm in a spicy mood, if I'm in a kind of playful but obnoxious mood, I'll bring these things up, and it usually frustrates whoever I'm with, especially if they have these kind of middle abstract concerns that like they don't really have explanations for that make any kind of sense, or they're tied to something like social status within like family, things like that don't make sense to me either. But anyway, that's I'm getting stuck on that. So then, the stuff's out, tables out, chairs are out, yeah, food's ready, right? But then people get here early, right? And so everyone starts showing up at 4 p.m. when they were supposed to show up at 5 p.m. Okay. And the assumption initially was that people would show up probably at 5 or after, because generally that's what happens. But instead, for some unknown reason, because it broke the trend of what usually occurs within these events, just within the confines of, I guess, the timeline or the time scheduling of this particular family, they showed up an hour early. They actually showed up at 4, right, when the scheduled time was 5. And when that happened, it caused more of a tizzy in the people around me, because they were like, "Oh no, the people are here, and the biscuits aren't ready, or the mashed potatoes aren't ready, or the mashed potatoes are ready." Well, there's like one or two things that weren't quite ready, some kind of casserole or something. And my thought on the matter is, well, they showed up early, so how's that our problem? They just gotta wait. Okay, like I'm not sure why that's a big concern. Let's just keep it on the same track. There's no reason to fret or speed up. There's there's just not. If they decide to show up early, then they wait. And if they have a problem with that, then that's their problem, I guess. So that's how it goes through my head, right? It's like, who cares? It's not a big deal. But, to everyone around me, it seems to be a particularly big deal. So then, they get agitated, they're stressed, they get a little short, they, with their language. They can't, it affects like their patience and toleration of obnoxious or annoying things that may occur around them. Um, and I understand that state of mind because I've been in that state of mind, but I don't understand it in regards to this in particular. So then it makes me irritable to see everyone else in this kind of state because I'm calm, and due to the fact that people are being affected by these things, they're not. And I think it annoys them further if I am. And then their annoyance with me being like how I am, or not as alarmed, or like without a sense of alarm for something that I don't think requires one, then it frustrates me, and then I get kind of in a similar state because it's like, why is everyone like this? Stop! Like, let's just go about the things that were going to happen, work together, whatever. Like, there's no reason for this sort of sense of agitation. And this is all before the actual meal, so um, so yeah, that it just kind of like boggles my mind, right? But when I'm in that situation again, I've learned to just be like, go with the flow. This is something that happens everywhere. This is something that affects them. So there's no reason to get too flustered about it. Just kind of go with it. Try to keep them you know, call them by helping or doing what you can. Ignore any kind of frustrated comments or whatever as best you can. That's my advice. Because if you start questioning like their agitation or saying, "Well, they were here an hour early. How is that our problem?" It's like you become a bigger you agitate their already kind of stressed out situation even further. Which in my head I would just go, "Oh, well, it's not a good reason to calm down to not be stressed out because it's not your fault." But that's not how it works. And when it comes to normative concerns pertaining to traditional holidays that involve family, I guess. Um, so then the food's done, food's ready, there's people, so on. Everyone starts eating. Oh, okay. Um, Other people are more stressed than others still because, then the food has to be cut and certain things have to be prepared and given. Um, in my head, I'm like, well, just give them knives and forks. Why do you have to cut it for them? They can cut it themselves. They have hands. It's food. I'm like, did they make the turkey? Then just let them cut their own food and scoop out their own mashed potatoes and mac and cheese and whatever else. And that's what goes through my head. And I don't know if you guys feel the same. Because I'm like, oh, okay, like I don't need anyone to slice my turkey or scoop out my casserole. I wasn't eating casserole, but you know what I'm saying. Like I didn't require or would see it as a social faux pas to not to do that for me. But maybe because other households do that, then you're expected to do that. But I don't think those other households should have done that to begin with. And if they choose to do that, they shouldn't expect others to do the same. Because I just find that silly. And you're just placing obligations on people that are unnecessary. That's my opinion. That's my kind of schizoid sort of opinion on that situation. And I mean, if you try to express those opinions, oh man, it makes the situation so much worse. So much worse. Like, if you try to tell people to calm down or, whoa, who cares? Or what's the big deal? Like, you know how it is. If you've done it, you know how much worse it can get. Or how that gets misconstrued or misunderstood as being uncaring or crude or crass. Cold. I don't know. Mixture of things, right? Um, so I kept my mouth shut because that's the best route. Occasionally things would slip, and you know, again, and somebody annoyed or something. It's just better to just. That's one of those moments where it's not so much masking for me. It's more like, choose your battles. Choose your battles. Because I know there's stuff that concerns me that other people, especially those people that are concerned about that at that moment, would look at me and go, "Why is that even a concern?" So I'm having the same moment. So I that's something important to know. And some people might disagree, but I think it's important to not do the things that maybe others do to you because they don't understand how maybe your priorities or sense your value system or sense of what's important works, your perspective functions. And because of that reason, you already know what it's like when someone discards or um, minimizes what is a more abstract or strange concern. So, doing similar, I don't think is too helpful, though I understand sense of animus towards normative concerns one may have because they don't understand yours. But it's just not productive usually. Though there are situations in which it's justified to bring up and argue, especially if you're dealing with someone that's particularly rude or uncaring or uncouth, if you will, uncivilized. But outside of that realm, it's just not really all that helpful to point out like all these things that don't make sense to you and then um, call them on it. It's good to pick what is important because unfortunately they are the majority. So you're always going to be on the losing end usually. if you're talking an argument of numbers. Anyway, so food is served. People are eating. Um, I'm watching my daughter. She's playing with her cousins, other little cousins. Things are okay. Um, so I scarf my food down because I don't want to really. I'm not like I don't really need to eat with others to enjoy my meal. So I just scarf my turkey down and eat it. I had it wrapped in a keto sort of tortilla with some cheese and you know my wife wasn't as comfortable like just scarfing. She wants to sit down and have her meal and talk and so I'm gonna eat my food. I'm just gonna scarf it down. And that way I could watch the baby and you can go eat peacefully. Because for you to enjoy your meal, there's a few more requirements, especially because it's associated to the social event. So you want to enjoy the meal with the family members and talk and drink whatever and stuff that I don't really care as much about. And so I can enjoy my if anything I might enjoy my meal less if I'm required to have a conversation while eating. Turkey was pretty good though, I must admit. Um, Food's done. People are talking. People are having conversations. I decided, okay, so this is a really good way for me to handle this. So I'm gonna take her to the living room. She's gonna watch cartoons. She's gonna play with one of the other little babies that are in the family, and I can sit on the couch. And I already ate. It's quiet. Less small talk, less whatever. And I'm also helping my wife so she can enjoy herself and her kind of social thing she's doing. But at the same time, I'm doing a responsibility, so it's not like I'm just being totally avoiding, the entire situation. So it's actually helpful for both of us. So then, yeah, maybe half an hour or so goes by. Soon, my wife is done eating, and 40 minutes maybe, and baby's playing. She's having fun. Then I see my wife and I say, "Oh, are you done eating? Everything clear?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, well then I'll go outside." So, now that this particular task isn't of use, then now I'm just avoiding the situation, which is unhelpful in some ways. So then I go outside and I sit down, and so on and so forth. Um, I look for somebody that I, you know, I kind of know subjects I can bring up that can be fun or make jokes with. So I find them, I sit with them. Um, that way I don't have to have any conversations that are just I'm not actually interested in having, and but just feel a little bit forced. But I don't know. I always assumed that other people were having forced conversations, but it doesn't seem like they are. They actually enjoy these kind of like everyday water cooler sort of combos. Something I think they actually enjoy. Something cozy about it for them. I don't relate. So, in order to pass the time, I'm like, okay, well, there's this board game or card game. You guys might be familiar with it. It's Cards Against Humanity. So I thought, oh, this is great. They like it. So they're younger cousins and not cousins, but yeah, my wife's cousins. So they're like similar age to myself, and a little bit younger. Some of them, maybe a few years younger, but they like the game. So I'm like, okay, well, it's more fun than just sitting here listening to whatever it is that they're talking about. So I'm like, okay, let's play, let's have fun. So then it's like a social thing. It's funny, and I like that game because it lets me be a little more of a what do I like to call it again? Diogenetic, Diogenes, but I can't remember now. But it let me get my Diogenes out because I get to like put cards together to say horribly offensive things, laugh at things, make terrible jokes, make awful off-color jokes, and that's what I like because I like laughing because laughing's cathartic sometimes, and especially when it's something pretty grim dark or gallows humor. I'm fond of. It takes a little bit of that suffering and converts it into something a little more pleasant. So it's kind of cool. I feel good when I'm sitting with other people. Uh, normative, not whatever, because we're participating in something, and it's in the realm of things that I enjoy doing. Just having inappropriate conversations or making inappropriate jokes, but it's a socially acceptable format because it's a card game. It's part of the card game, right? So even though the cards themselves are creating very inappropriate jokes, I can actually like wedge in my own comments and ideas, and sometimes I'll get in some of the schizoid sort of like observations in there and just make like a joke out of it, and so then they laugh and it's fine. Uh, play that for a good hour or so. Having drink, well, I forgot to mention I'm drinking beers the entire time. Alcohol tends to make like middle abstraction sort of stuff more tolerable, like the concerns and the ideas and the frustrations and stuff that come with dealing with some of it. Like, it's just more, it's a lot more tolerable when a little bit inebriated. So that part's cool. It's over, all that's done. It's getting later. Um, Start realizing, oh, wow, everyone's inside. So I head inside and I'm like, oh, there's my wife's there. They're all sitting in a circle. I make a joke about how it looks like they're for a meeting or something. I don't think anybody thought that was funny, but whatever. And then I sit down, and everyone's just quietly sitting there watching. Like two people are watching like a soccer game, and everyone else is just sitting there like this, like that, just like this. And in my head, I'm thinking, is everyone bored? Does everyone actually want to be sitting here? Is this like, is this like what people like to do in these types of situations? Because I'm guessing it is because everyone there is doing it. And no one's saying that they don't want to. And so, to me, it's like, oh, this is not a situation I want to do. It's just sitting here when we could either be having a topical conversation of some sort, maybe some interest, or a activity, or I could just do my own activity, preferably. But it's especially as a husband, as a father, you're gonna have a certain obligation of, oh, I have to be present to this thing. So you have to sit in a circle. So, but yeah, that's a good thing though, because I'm also showing to the normative people in my family, I care about your concerns. I care about your value systems and things that matter to you, like this family togetherness stuff, a familial sort of social togetherness. So I'm respecting that. So I'm participating in it. And that's the kind of the signal boost that I'm putting out there for people in my life that I actually want to know that I care about them and things associated to them. So yeah, that went on for a bit, and then at some point or another, I tried to break the silence a few times with a comment or just a query. Didn't quite work, so then just got quiet again. Eventually, people started getting up and saying, "Oh, it's getting late. I gotta go." I'm like, "Okay, goodbye." And then, yeah, bye. They go. And other people, that kind of incentivizes others to be like, "Oh, I can also leave now." Somebody broke the ice of not wanting to sit here in the circle quietly. And it's just funny in my head because I'm like, like the whole time I'm thinking, why doesn't somebody just say, "Hey guys, this is kind of boring, huh? Like maybe we should like not do this." But nobody says that because then it would be like, how dare you? How dare you be the one to say the obvious thing that everyone has in the back of their mind? Or maybe they don't. Maybe I just think they do. Maybe I'm assuming they have this in the back of their mind. Maybe they're legitimately enjoying sitting there. Um, somebody occasionally providing an anecdote and then everything becoming quiet again. Maybe that's something people legitimately enjoy. And I just don't understand or comprehend. Try to be as charitable as I can on this. It's always good to be charitable. It's more helpful. Honey, not vinegar, all that. So then that ends and everyone goes, that's it. Got to do a little cleaning up. Pick some stuff up outside. Wish it ended a little bit earlier because I'm already sleepy and tired and still drunk. And that's that. And by the end of the day, I'm thinking that was what the big hubbub was about. That was a big worry, big concern. I'll never understand. It's okay. I don't have to understand. I don't have to understand, but I try. And hopefully one day people will try to understand us a little better. Why we experience these things so differently than others. Bird Day. Turkey Bird Day. It's all I see. Just a big turkey. And it's funny too, because there's a celebration around a poultry, I guess, that isn't all that great. That's the funniest part. I mean, a well rotisserie or like cooked, fried, whatever chicken tastes far better than a turkey. It's so confusing. And even the ham tastes better than turkey. It's not that the turkey was good, but it takes a lot more effort to make turkey good than say chicken or steak. So then it's like, why aren't we having steaks, chicken, pork chops? Why are we having turkey? Which requires far more effort, and the rewards are at best moderate. I will never understand, but it must be turkey. Because if it's not turkey, it's not Thanksgiving. And if it's not Thanksgiving, it's not the appropriate social event to satisfy these mid-level abstraction concerns pertaining to that social space. So I take it in stride. I just kind of giggle at it. Not in any kind of condescending ways. It's more like, this world is absurd, but not in any kind of fun way usually. It's very mundane ways. Anyway, thanks for listening to me talk about my experience on Thanksgiving. And hopefully you relate to some of the things I said. And if you don't, well then shit. Sorry. But if you did, please post a comment. Please like, please hit the bell, please subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. And also, if you like this content or other content I put out, whether it's streams or conversations or what rambling like this, please support me on Patreon. Please support me through PayPal, whatever means. I really appreciate any help I get, especially through these currently trying times in my own life. Not that that's should be taken into account. Just the content. That's what matters. All right. Thank you.